My Little Sinner, Chapter 3. When I awoke this morning, I could feel less pressure on my arm. I turned and taken notice that Dash wasn't sleeping next to me anymore. In fact, I was the only one in the room. I guess she must have left either recently or while I myself was out like a light. Can't really blame her. It could have been really awkward if someone, or some pony as she put it late last night, were to find us sleeping together. Even though I understand, part of me would have preferred to have woken up next to each other. Studying my surroundings, I came to the conclusion that I'd finally hit the time I wanted to. Making one last check that the door was closed and the rest of the place was empty, I made a break for the room's only bathroom. Instead of walking, running, or even jumping to the washroom, I used my powers to avoid more aches across my being. It must appear I was supported by invisible wires because I slowly levitated myself in. To prevent myself from being discovered, I closed the door so quietly, only the wind would be the one to know that it was shut. Following that, I began to undress. First the half-sized gown was to go, next were the bandages that seemed to consume all my limbs, and lastly the massive amount of wrapping across my chest. Underneath the wrap were 3 taped-on bandages, 2 on my lower right and left abdomen, while the third sat on my right rib cage, most likely covering a puncture wound over my lung. Explains why I lost the ability to breathe while crashing. Okay, Henry, they're just bigger band-aids, and you've got to rip them off like one. I carefully slid my fingers under both of the bandages that covered my abdomen. With blinding speed and simultaneously, I jerked both hands back, and with a paper-tearing sound, they were off. Huh, that wasn't so bad. Guess that just leaves the last one. With the same process, I tore off the last medical bandage, except this one stung a little more. Suddenly, my entire front felt warm and wet. I slowly panned my head down and caught sight of the red liquid oozing down like a waterfall. Crap! I forced my hands on the hole over my lung and left side, adding as much pressure as I could to reduce the blood loss, but was only greeted with my old friend once again, pain. I truly did look like it just came out of hell. Scars and scratches whittled my body like a badly carved totem pole. I could see slight burns drawn on my right leg and left shoulder. Shifting the muscles on my face, I could feel something stitched on. Luckily, I couldn't feel any thread, so it must have been cuts. The stab wounds which plagued my chest had ranged in 3 inches in diameter to 3.5. And this is what I looked like on the outside? Hate to see the mess on the inside. I relaxed every part of me and let all my spirit energy flow naturally. I became a human disco ball as a soft white light filled all my scars, all cuts, and those 3 holes. Internally, I felt my organs warm up and elevate themselves. Externally, I could feel my cells regenerate as each wound closed up. It appeared that my skin was pulling itself with the opposite end of the affliction. I was fully healed now, but still in a bit of pain. That should leave momentarily as my nerves reset. Now that was over, I planned to take a shower. It wasn't the blood that stained my stomach. It was also because my hair felt thick and greasy. Plus, the smell of extreme sweat wasn't too appealing. Looking over towards the shower, I took note of its size and how not appropriate for my height it would be. Well, the locals are ponies. It all makes sense. Yet, because this being a hospital shower, there was a small built-in seat for the injured, making less space for me. What I ended up doing was sitting on that little chair while the upper half of my body was set at a 30-degree angle. It wasn't a pleasant feeling having been in this position for the bath, especially when I leaned back to clean my stomach and accidentally hit my head against the wall. Taking only 5 minutes to wash proved to be enough to get clean, but it wasn't short enough because now my back ached. Quickly popping it and grabbing a towel, I made my way to the steamed-up mirror and wiped the fogginess away after drying off. I looked at the figure who stared back at me. Waist-long neon green hair, crimson blood-red eyes, slightly pale skin on a thin, medium-built body, a young, handsome face with a stern look. After this time, I still can't recognize myself. This is me who I'm looking at in the mirror, but now all I can see is just his face. As much as I wanted to punch the mirror, I couldn't do it, not to repress my while in anger, but so as not to cause a commotion. I hung the towel back in the plastic bar in the tiny room and exited. No longer wanted to be exposed, I decided to get dressed in my clothes. Not the gown that the hospital provided me with, but the ones I came with and already sewn back together, and made them brand spanking new. I hooked my fingers into the neatly folded shirt, but decided against it. Pants first, everything else later. I've revealed my junk for far too long now. I guided my feet through each legging as I proceeded to zip up. I heard the door, both the knob and the hinges creak as the thing opened. On the other side was Twilight Sparkle, matching my gaze. She looked downward at my chest, and I figured she was examining me. Shit. I've been discovered. The unicorn carefully shut the door so not to disturb the building. After a few steps of hers, that protruding hoon lit up in a soft pink. She directed it straight at me. What was she planning? With no idea what to do, I simply let Twilight continue till she was literally right in front of where I stood. Using careful precision, the lavender mare glided the tip across my chest. Even though I used my strongest healing spells and the physicians did their best to suture you, there's no possible way you should have cultivated this much, she quietly stated. With much curiosity, Twilight stared at me with her violet eyes and declared, "You can use magic." What are you talking about? I replied as calmly as I could. Maybe there was still a chance I could keep my powers hidden. I just had to play it off as best as I could. Don't take me for an idiot. My detection spell was able to identify an extraordinary amount of magic residing within you, she immediately countered. A detection spell? Well, that just means my attempts will be, if she can sense my abilities. Feeling defeated and knowing it was pointless to hide, I sat at the end of the bed and revealed a small portion of what I can do to her. I lifted my left hand and channeled my spirit energy with nature. Even though you can't see it, there is moisture in the air. From what it would appear, for those watching, was water, form from nothingness, and shape into a sphere, floating above my hand. I made it bend to my will as I had my telekinetic abilities give it the form of a snake and slithered down my arm. I didn't reach for Twilight as I morphed it into a butterfly to flap around her. All she could do was watch in amazement as I retracted the liquid back to me and superheated it into steam. Once it was in a complete gas state, I again formed it into a sphere and rotated it to show I had control of the wind as well. I pushed the ball forward at her again, letting it flow through her hair in streams, giving her a gentle, cool breeze as though she was outside. As I colored the wind back, I collected as much dust particles as I could. With a quick spark, I transmuted it into the substance and mutated the original form into pure dirt. I had created Earth. Slowly making a fist, I let the bits of this new Gaia crumble between the cracks of my fingers to prove that it was dirt. Next, smoke began to filter out as I ignited the creation into a small controlled flame. I levitated it closer so that Twilight might bask in its warmth. With the fire creating light, it thus created shadows. Underneath and behind the mare, I focused my powers on the darkness, and had it reach for the flame in front of Twilight's eyes, and had it consume the fireball. And lastly, to extinguish the black substance, I stole some light and electricity from the overhead bulb, and wrapped the new formed energy around the darkness, till it gave a small fireworks explosion between us. The room was silent, as curiosity left the purple unicorn's eyes, and welled up with excitement. Her gaping mouth then turned to a bright smile. "This is only a tiny percentage of what I can do," I started, breaking the silence.
That was amazing! I've never seen or even heard of somebody that can use abilities other than Princess Celestia's. How much of your magic did you use? If that was only a small portion, then what are you fully capable of? Oh my. I just have so many questions I want to ask you now,"
Twilight announced with so much glee you'd think she just met her hero. Not the reaction I was expecting, but hey, I'm not going to complain. From what I determined, being compared to royalty and my true abilities matching Reiku's, my powers were truly godlike, transcending human into what I once was. No, I'm still human no matter how much I look at it. To avoid starting a migraine, I decided to answer Twilight's questions. If you want an estimate on the percent, then I could say 1%. But if you want an accurate percent, then it would be most likely 0.000000391%. The pony's eyes widened when I said the exact decimal.
That's phenomenal. How can you use magic like that?
She continued. It's simple. I use my own spiritual energy and life force to channel my abilities into various forms. I can form alchemy, control nature, convert my magic into numerous things, and use my powers to form just about anything I put my mind to, I replied.
Can other humans perform such feats?
She asked eagerly. I thought it over before replying again. There are some who can, some who can't, and those who can learn it, but don't have the current ability to. It was true. Hold on. Twilight just used the term humans. How would she know such of a word? This again has dwindled back down to Leon. Hey, Twilight. Am I the first human to enter Equestria? I wasn't going to ask her directly about Leon, but I had to at least gain some ground of understanding.
Yes? Why do you ask?
That earlier eagerness died down into a slight perturbation. She must know of Leon, as well as maybe why she was unsettled about my question. Well, I ask because you know what the term human means. So does this mean you and your friends have perfected interdimensional travel?
Oh, I see why you're curious about it now,
the unicorn said, calming down.
I haven't learned of any spells that allow me to travel to parallel universe. It is Princess Celestia who has that ability. I was there when she used it to journey to a different dimension, and it was there where I learned the word humans and its meaning.
Twilight answered in her usual relaxed, sophisticated tone, yet that little smile she had on seemed somewhat forced. I don't like playing detective, but I wrote a rough estimate on the Leon incident. This Princess Celestia, Twilight Sparkle, and her friends, most likely Rainbow Dash being with them, traveled to this other world that indeed has humans. Rainbow meets Leon somewhere along the line and has some type of relationship with him. What happens afterwards until they return to Equestria is still unknown. You know what? I'm done with it. I'm no longer going to dig any further into what had happened. I'm not going to bring up any bad memories just to satisfy my damn curiosity. When they tell me, if they tell me, then that is when I'll get my answer. I've made my choice. After making my decision, I turned my attention back to Twilight in case she had more questions. I don't know how I didn't see it when I first came in. Bursting against her side was a saddlebag. Wondering what contents may lie inside, I asked. Lifting the flap open and spreading out the set of books with her magic, the Lavender Mare began.
It's just some books about geography and the history of Equestria. I thought if you end up staying here a while longer, you may want some knowledge of the place.
That was nice of her. I did plan on staying a little longer than originally planned because of the sight I got to witness. These books will surely help make my stay easier to cope with. Picking up the first book, which had a green cover and read, Daring Do and the Quest for the Sapphire Stone at its title. I was quite confuddled and directed my confusion towards the mare who handed me the book.
Rainbow asked me to bring you this novel. It's the first in this series. She said that I should bring you in case no pony could keep you company and you got bored.
The unicorn said, repressing a befuddlement. I think I'll start with the books Twilight meant to give me, then go back to the book Dash suggested. The lavender unicorn proceeded to exit before stopping herself at the door.
When you're feeling up to it, could you meet me at the library? It's an old oak tree located in the center of Ponyville. I'd like to ask you some more questions and hopefully see just the kind of things you're capable of.
Sure. Shouldn't be a problem. I was actually planning on stopping by when it was released.
Really? How come?
She asked quizzically. I wanted to see if there was anything I could assist you with to help repay you for paying my medical expenses.
Oh, you shouldn't worry about reimbursing.
She began before I raised my hand to cut her off. That's twice I've done that to her. Sorry, Twilight. You and your friend showed me a lot of kindness for rescuing me, paying for my stay, and welcoming me here. I want to show my gratitude for it, and there's nothing you can say to stop me.
Then I gladly accept that gratitude, she continued with an accepting smile.
We said our goodbyes, due to Twilight having to return to his schedule, and I, once again, alone. I began studying. I picked up the geography book and first learned the major cities and landmarks. At least the ones near Ponyville. The two places of interest happened to be the Everfree Forest and Canterlot. Seems Canterlot homes the castle to which the ruler of this land resides in. While the Everfree Forest has a warning label within the description. Something about dangerous creatures living in it. Didn't seem too threatening. Next was the history book, and I think I learned quite a lot from this one. For starters, those tattoos I've seen on the ponies are actually called cutie marks. Every pony eventually gets one and is uniquely different from every other. A cutie mark is earned when a pony discovers that what they're best at, but it also symbolizes who they are as an individual. It defines them personality-wise. What I learned next about the history of Equestria was, after Celestia and Luna defeated the entity known as Discord, the two came into royalty. Celestia became the ruler of the sun and the day, while Luna was the ruler of the moon and the night. Later on in their rule, Luna revolted against her sister, but did not succeed. She was then banished into the moon until she broke free as Nightmare Moon. It is here during this incident that Applejack, Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, and Twilight Sparkle, the very same ponies who saved me, gained the powers of the elements of harmony and restored Luna to her former self. After that, Discord returned to spread his chaotic rule, and in turn, was defeated by the very same 6 ponies. Can't say which I'm more impressed with, the feats the 6 of them performed, or the fact that I was saved by celebrities. My study time was interrupted by the room's only door opening again, this time by the cult doctor with a nurse. He looked at me like he just saw a ghost when he laid eyes upon me. Probably the same initial reaction as Twilight expected to find me still wrapped up like a mummy. This is outstanding!" the doc began. The rest of his stammering was filled with unintelligible questions. At least that's how it seemed to me. I couldn't keep up with the unicorn's marvel. When he slowed down, I caught a few of his questions. They mostly dealt on how I was fine now. I mostly lied and told him that humans appeared to have a faster recovery rate. It was all in a void telling him about my powers. Still, with no knowledge of my anatomy, I guess he took it as truth. This is perfect. At least, it was perfect until he told me to undress. Why do you need me to strip? I asked with much confusion. I just got my clothes back on, too.
I want to feel for any abnormalities you may have, and later some x-rays. Nurse Coldheart, when you're ready.
The nurse next to him is a pale yellow earth pony with emerald green eyes and a blue mane held in a bun. Her cutie mark was the white medical cross surrounded by 4 little hearts. She was somewhat nervous as she examined my limbs. I expected this much of a reaction since I'm still an unknown creature to them. They really wouldn't know what to expect from me. That put a thought in my head. No, don't do it, Henry. Don't scare them, just add some excitement. As much as I wanted to, I managed to hold myself back and eventually turned dull as boredom crept into my being. There was still minor pain and as my body adjusted to the rejuvenated cells, but the good news is, on my part, is that the feeling is minuscule. With the first half of my examination complete, I was led into a small, bleak room for a few minutes. It had to have been for the x-rays, but I couldn't spot where they used. Maybe the unicorn doctors had the machine they used to take the photos in the next room. I didn't really want to drill on too much since my medics returned. Using his levitation magic, the cult thoroughly studied my bone structure. Not sure how much that would count for, since the odds of him actually finding something wrong is extremely low. He gave one final look at me and stated, "You'll need to stay here for at least 2 days so you can undergo physical therapy." What? Did he really just say that? He still knows next to nothing about my kind, and even though I told humans recuperated faster than ponies, he makes that order? I peeked at the x-rays and could not, for the life of me, see anything wrong with my skeleton structure. Either my physician is making a guess in hopes it'll be for the better, or he wants me to stay a while longer so he can squeeze out a few more coins. I feel like protesting this, but I'm not sure how far that would get me. Feeling defeated already, I just went with the flow just to see where this stream would take me. With that in mind, it made these upcoming days run longer than hope. If I sleep it off, maybe it'll go quicker. Quickly returning to my room in hopes of skipping time, I noticed my only chance of freedom was blocked off. Standing in front of my soon-to-be ex-bed was the Rainbow Pegasus, Dash. She seemed to be searching the room for something, most likely me. Maybe I might be able to have some fun. "Boo!" I declared while giving a pat on her back. My attempt was futile. Not even a tiny jitter. Guess she is too brave for such a thing. Since my scare didn't work, we started off with a warm greeting, but that deterred south when Rainbow 2 began questioning my body's new recovered status. I felt more comfortable about the subject with her. If I was able to reveal my powers to Twilight, I don't think it would hurt to mention them to Rainbow as well. So I directed us to sit on the bed and proceeded to tell the Blue Pony about my abilities. Dash was interested then, but not as fascinated as Twilight was. But at least my powers led into some more pleasant small talk to learn about each other.